Hey guys, today we're going to talk about companions. It's taken a little while because I had to get one to grow up a little bit before I talked about it too much. Now there's two types of companions in the game. One of which you can actually buy, and the other one is a little bit more of a upkeep and acquirement process. Now if you go here to the equipment tab, you'll see the Sentinels and the Sentinel blueprints. This works the same as every other market sector that there is. You buy one, you get the platinum for it, comes with the slots and all that. Or you go to the Sentinel blueprints and you buy them for credits, and then you have to craft them. After you craft them, they fill up slots. We went over that a little bit more in a different video where it actually every Sentinel takes 2 slots because it counts as a weapon and a Sentinel. We'll go over those first just because I have one right here. Now, Sentinels come in multiple different varieties. You have Death Cubes, you have Shades, you have Helioses, you have Worms, you have Carriers, and you have Djinns, and there's Clan Tech ones and normal ones. For the most part, what I'm going to go over right now is just kind of the basics. I mean, each one has its own perks. The Carrier is what a lot of people will run around with because it has a vacuum that sucks up nearby items, and that's really handy in this game to not have to run over every single item to pick it up. But likewise, all of them have their own special moves. Now, Sentinels will rank up just like anything else, and a Sentinel can be equipped with a Sentinel weapon. And these are either rifles for the most part, or there's one that actually will take pistol mods and one that counts as a shotgun. These mods are shared amongst your normal mods, and I kind of went over that in another video as well. Now, the companion itself is much like a Warframe in the fact that it has stance. It has a shield, it has power, all the stuff that you would expect it to have. Now, how, like for instance, things like power aren't really explained too much with how your Sentinel moves them. It doesn't really explain anywhere if, like, say, if it uses the Guardian mod, if all of a sudden that uses its power or anything like that. Likewise, stamina isn't really explained. Sentinels kind of just float, they don't run, they don't really do melee attacks, so it's kind of questionable as to what they would need stamina for, but the same basic as the Warframe apply for the health, the armor, and the shields. They might get blown up quite frequently when they're in their newer state, and you can still apply your reactors into them to get that extra double amount of points available for your capacity. Every Sentinel will have 2 mods that are specific to it. In the case of Carrier, Vacuum, the one that sucks up the mods I mentioned, is specific to it, as well as Striker. How these all end up playing out is you have one special move that's like a fancy ability, and then you have one that actually allows it to attack with its weapon. In the case of Striker, it attacks the first visible thing within range. There's slight twists on this in the fact that some will attack the first thing it sees, some will attack only if it attacks you. There's a little bit of play within those, but each Sentinel has 2 mods specific to it. I cannot equip Vacuum on a different mod, like a different Sentinel. Like, I can't go to my Helios and put Vacuum on it because it's Carrier specific. And you can kind of see right in the bottom right of the mod it says Carrier, indicating it's for this Sentinel specifically. All of the other Sentinel mods you will see just say Sentinel because any Sentinel can use them. And these range across the board just like the Warframe mods. You have your stuff that increases armor and health and shields and shield respawn rate. You have some that are fancier, such as if you revive a teammate, it'll put a little barrier to absorb some damage, or if your Sentinel dies, it'll revive once. Even things that'll allow it to boost your own shield, so if your Warframe loses its shield, your Sentinel goes, "Hey, I gotcha," and it'll bring your shield back. There's a bunch of different varieties. Some of the mods are more useful than others, but you build yourself a Sentinel, you have a little floating companion. Just like Warframes, it does also have appearance tabs, so you can change, in some cases, the body of the Sentinel. You can change the attachments, like little wings and hats and faces. You can make it look different. All these parts are currently, as far as I know, all platinum bought, so you're going to have to do your trading, or you're going to have to buy some actual platinum in order to do these. Although it's not really necessary. I mean, the cosmetic appearances don't have anything really to do with stats. So outside of maybe the color palette, which works the same way as your Warframe, you don't really have to worry about it. You can also put your badges on there. So if you got a clan emblem or you have a specific event emblem you want to represent, you can also stick them on your Sentinel. Just a little representing. That's really pretty much all there is to Sentinels. They're nice in the fact that if they die, they don't hate you for it. It works similar in a way to mags from the Phantasy Star Online series, if you're familiar with that. It follows you around, it has its own little stats, and it kind of will do additional benefits for you if you put the right mods into it. It'll also function as a secondary gun, because there's this little robot flying around your shoulders that will shoot things if they get too close, depending on, you know, its attack mod. And likewise, it has a range of weapons available to it that you can all equip. Sentinels are nice because it's very much a set and forget little companion. You get, say, your carrier, you put its mods into it, and then you can pretty much forget it's even there. It'll do its job, it'll pick things up. If it dies, you don't have to worry about reviving it because it's just dead. But it'll come back after the mission, and it won't carry a grudge about the fact that it exploded. It's very nice in that effect. The other companion, the more complicated companion, and also the more annoying in a way companion, but incredibly more cute, is a Kubro. Now, Kubros are incredibly more intensive to get than just going to the store and then farming resources. There is a quest called Howl of the Kubro within your codex under the quest section. You can see it right there, and you will actually have to proceed through this quest in its various segments in order to get a Kubro. This involves first finding the incubator segment in your ship, and then you have to actually go out and farm earth zones and blow up Kubro dens in order to get said eggs. I can try to see if I can pull up a Kubro den in here, if I can remember which piece it's under. Right in here. So Kubro dens look kind of like that. They just float around the environments on the earth zones specifically, and when you attack them they tend to spit out more Kubros, and those feral Kubros can be pretty vicious. If you're looking to get mods for your Kubros, you have to specifically go after Kubros, because Kubros, the feral ones, are the ones that drop the Kubro mods, whereas Sentinel mods will kind of just drop all over the place. So it's a very much more specified thing, and then you have to do a lot of farming for the most part, unless RNG is really on your side, in order to get the egg. After you get the egg, you have to build the incubator core, which is going to be pretty pricey for especially starting people, where it requires 2 argons, which can only be gotten from, well, 1 argon, sorry, which can only be gotten from the void, which of course has a shelf life of that 24 hours. It's going to require 100,000 credits, 8 hours of building, and then a bunch of control modules and nanospores, which in the long run is nothing because you get mad amounts of them. But at starting, those control modules specifically might be a little bit of a, oh man, I don't have any of these for the average starting player. After you build one of those and you have found your egg and you have got your incubator segment, you can then breed your Kubro. This is usually just a randomized process, and you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting any of the 4 given breeds of Kubros. After you get it, it will hatch, because they come from an egg, and turn into a little puppy, which is cute, but you can't really do anything with it besides just interact with it and do cute little things like petting it. Although later on in its life this will serve more of a purpose. They come with different patterns and different furry builds and bigger ears and all kinds of cute stuff. When it finally, 2 days after it's fully hatched out of the incubator, develops into a large Kubro like this, you will then have to go do a solo mission to defend the Kubro. which, depending on what kind of mods you have and what kind of build you have and how much you've played and how good you are at the game and all these other factors, might be something that you find very, very difficult. Because it is you trying to defend a creature that's relatively squishy because it just hatched from, I believe, 5 waves of Grineer guys all trying to shoot at it. And of course, if the Kubro dies, you have a very limited time to go and revive it, just like you would if a teammate died, or else you fail the mission. If you die, of course, you fail the mission. So it's a very difficult possibility. I mean, if you're coming at this later on, you have fancier Warframes, and you have fancier gear, of course it'll be probably a lot easier for you. But there is that bit of difficulty involved. If you're looking for a specific breed, you can actually buy imprints off of people. And imprints will actually allow you to scan a Kubro if you have it, and then it'll keep a copy of that. So if you wanted a specific breed, you would want 2 imprints of that breed to guarantee it. Otherwise, you, again, have that half and half chance. Likewise, every Kubro takes a stasis spot. Stasis spots end up being bought for 10 platinum, so if you want to have all 4 breeds, it's going to take 20 or 30 platinum. The first slot is, free. You don't have to pay for the first slot. How these dogs work is much more upkeep intensive after you finally get all the stuff that you can actually use it. This DNA integrity works thusly. Every day your Kubro is not in stasis, it will lose 10% of its DNA integrity. If the DNA integrity gets to negative 100%, the Kubro is dead. It is gone forever. It's not just, oh no, it's dead, I'll just revive it. It is just completely gone. Dissolved, disappeared, dead. So you're going to want to keep it above that, unless you're, some sick person who hates cute little puppies with bat noses. For everything over that 0%, it gains more health. As you can see right here, it says 80%, but it also says has 80% more health. This means if I take it on a mission with me, it has 80% bonus health on top of whatever its normal health would be. This is good because it keeps it alive longer, and you want your dog to stay alive longer because, especially at those starting levels when it has no mods, they die pretty easy, so you're going to want to keep an eyeball on them. You can see underneath here we have something called a DNA stabilizer that I can apply. DNA stabilizers can be bought from the market, so you don't have to worry about a crafting time on them, which is nice. However, the thing that's not so nice about this thing is that it's gonna run you 75,000 credits to buy a stack of 6. And you're going, well, 75,000 credits isn't that bad. But let me continue here. Obviously, your dog is losing its stability of DNA every time you have it out, every day that it's actually out. So in 4 days, it's down 40% from max. A DNA stabilizer restores 40% of its health, which means to optimize your Kubro's effectiveness, every 4 days you don't have it in stasis, you're going to need to use a stabilizer. Every 6 times you do that, you will then have to buy another 6-pack of 75,000 credits. This is further amplified by the fact that, it can die if it hits negative 100, so you do have to kind of keep an eyeball on it. Now, if for whatever reason, you're going to be gone for a couple of days, you can actually go hop over to the stasis and then put it in stasis. It'll be an instant thing. It goes in the freezer. It won't have any degeneration or anything like that. You don't have to worry about any of its stats going down. The only downside to putting the Kubro in stasis is it will take 3 hours to thaw out from stasis. So you're not going to be able to immediately reuse it after you freeze it. It's not a big thing if you're taking it out, say, for the weekend, but it is rather inconvenient enough to stop most people from wanting to just, you know, stick it in the freezer before the daily reset and then pull it back out, because you're going to lose that 3-hour period of time of using it. The other stat that you have to worry about is loyalty. Now, every time it dies, it's going to lose some loyalty. I believe every time you do not log in while it's out, it also may go down. And this is handled in a similar way to DNA integrity, except for you don't have to buy something to restore it. Every day you can interact with your Kubro 3 times, which interacting is generally just petting it or playing with it, or right here is interacting. It pretty much just plays a little cutscene of you being cute with your pup and everything's good. That will restore a set amount of loyalty. Now, the loyalty, if you were to say have your Kubro die and you did not revive it in a match, it's going to lose that loyalty. In doing so, you're going to end up burning about 2 of your 3 possible uses in order to bring that back up to maximum. Now, it's not as big of a deal as, say, the health thing, because it's only bonus damage, but it is something where the more damage it does, the longer it's going to stay alive, because it's killing things better. It's being more effective of a pet. So it's one of those things where if you don't log in, it's gonna go down by 20%. If it dies, it goes down by 40%. Every time you interact, it goes up 20. So if it dies once and then you forget to log in the next day, you're gonna burn all 3 of your daily restoring of its loyalty in one use. And the restores will refresh every 24 hours, so it's not, you know, the end of the world. And since all the loyalty does is affect the amount of damage it does, it's not as big of an issue. But it is also just one more aspect of the Kubro that you have to deal with. Now, if you also find that you don't like your Kubro, or it wasn't the breed that you want, or you just don't want to feel like a heartless jerk by letting it die, and you don't feel like keeping it in your freezer, you can consign it by paying 25,000 credits and give it off to, you know, Planet Lotus, where she keeps all the fuzzy cute little Kubros and they have rollicking good times. Now, outside of the maintenance with the Kubro, it does also have very similar functions to your companions in a certain aspect. You can still change the appearance. You can buy some fur patterns from the market if you really wish. You got a couple of different colors you can change. You can even equip badges to its collar, which has varying effects because it is hovered on a fuzzy animal, so it can be kind of difficult to see amongst all the fur on some of the stockier and more furry builds. You also have a limited amount of colors that you can choose from to dye your pet that you can buy from the market. Or you can buy even more colors by spending real money if you so desire. Kubros also have mods, and Kubros also have 2 very specific moves to them. In the case of this Sahasa that I have right now, it can dig, which gives it a % chance to just randomly dig up buried objects like ammo or orbs, and it has its attack move, which in this case is allowing it to do finishers on enemies, which gives it an additional 20% finisher damage. These will change a bit from dog to dog. One of them will restore shields, one of them will pounce on people and drag them to the ground, which can be particularly handy for capture missions because it'll slow the guy from running away. And then of course you have an entire slew of Kubro mods, which will function very similar to normal Warframe mods. Although it does also have some where they're a little bit different. For instance, the link moves. What a link move for your mod will do is it ties into whatever your Warframe is using. So if I put a link armor at its lowest level, 10% of whatever my Warframe's armor is goes to the Kubro. So obviously if I'm using something with, say, 10 armor or 15 armor or something like that. Link armor is going to be pretty much useless. Whereas if I'm using something like a Valkyr that has 1200 armor, extra armor link going to my dog is going to be very handy. Likewise, there's a link for health and there's a link for shields. There's also moves such as Pack Leader, where every time you successfully melee damage an opponent, your dog will gain some health, which is good if you need to keep your dog alive for a while and it's somewhere that you just can't pick it up. There's also some like Loyal Companion, which will increase how long it takes for your Kubrow to bleed out, which is handy because you're going to need to pick it up, especially in those earlier levels when it can't take a shot as good. It does not actually have a weapon like the Sentinels do, like a gun, because it is a dog. It instead likes to bite, claw, and charge people. It's pretty straightforward, really. It gives you that ninja companion dog that you've always dreamed of having, with its cute little fuzzy barks and yips and horrible... I mean, come on, look at it. You can't not like that, right? That being said, there is a few things that I should tell you if you're going to use a Kubrow as tips to help make your life easier. If you go to your options menu and you go to HUD, you will see all the way down here, mark your Kubrow. If you have this checked, it'll always have an icon floating around your Kubrow, so you can always tell where it is. Sometimes your Kubrow will really want to go off after a dude, and it, especially with something like the dog that likes to capture bad guys, and you're going to want to know where it is, because you're going to not want to be too far away from it in case it goes down. Granted, you'll be able to see its health up in the corner, just like you would your teammates. But it's a handy thing to have because you can monitor where your Kubrow is. It makes it easier to tell where it is at any given time, and therefore easier to know where you gotta go if it ends up going down somehow. As the Kubrows progressively get stronger, they won't really need as much babysitting. In the long run, your Kubrow will actually be much more dangerous than your Sentinels will, because they end up doing a lot more damage than your Sentinels will, and it's very much a give and take. I mean, you can go with your Kubrow, who right now does a slash of 120 damage, and this is without any mods in it. This is just base damage at unranked Kubrow of this Sahasa breed. Whereas if I go back to my carrier, who has a, say, death machine rifle, which is, I'll go in here just to prove it, you know, it's got a couple of mods in here, including a plus 105% damage and a fire damage mod. If I get rid of these, and I come back out here, the death machine rifle does maybe 5 damage, a little over 5 if you add it all up, per shot. Compared to the Kubrow's 120, when the Kubrow isn't even ranked yet, or has any mods in it, that's a pretty impressive difference in damage. Of course, you trade it off because there is a lot of the upkeep that you have to deal with for a Kubrow. You have to watch out for it, make sure it doesn't die entirely. You have to make sure you're logging in and you're playing with it and you're giving it these DNA stabilizers. And some people just aren't going to want to have to deal with that. The nice part is you can deal with it with one, put that dog into stasis, and then just not deal with it anymore if you want. And that way you still have a Kubrow there. You can see I've already got 3 other Kubrows. It's because I'm a bit of a collector and I wanted to get all 4 breeds. They're all fun. I enjoyed having them out, but what ends up keeping me from using the Kubrow over the Sentinel is that upkeep. That's the biggest difference between the two. Even though the Kubrow can do way more potential-wise sometimes than the Sentinels, the fact that there is so much that you have to deal with. You have to deal with its health and its loyalty, and you got to make sure it doesn't die, and you got to make sure you're logging in, and it's a lot of upkeep, especially if you don't log in every day and play every day. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If I don't think I'm going to log on for a couple days, I throw the dog in stasis so that I don't have to worry about it. Likewise, some of the Sentinels all have some really nice perks to them. Death Cube, although he isn't really anything super fancy because he's just what he's named. He's a cube of death. His entire goal is to just kill things. All of his attacks are attacks. That's a special thing. Carrier has that versatility of it's picking up items for me. I don't have to go out into the middle of a pack of dudes to pick up energy orb to fuel my powers, because the carrier will suck in items from further away and give them to me. It's a very versatile thing. Shade will make me go invisible if I'm not attacking things, if it sees a bad guy. This can be very useful in many situations, because if a bad guy doesn't see you anymore, they tend to leave you alone. This is particularly handy, I found, for reviving people, because they might see you at first, but when Sentinel decides to kick in its ability and make you go invisible, nothing's there to fight and bother you while you're reviving the other player now. Helios can scan opponents using any codex scanners that you have equipped. This is originally something that I thought was going to be incredibly awesome, because it would get all these scans for me and I wouldn't have to deal with scanning things manually. It ended up being a little bit lackluster because of scan times, and how long it was taking usually ended up with me killing whatever it was trying to scan before it could do so. Still, it's a nifty idea. The Worm and the Djinn both kind of have a crowd control move. One kind of sucks people into it, the other one kind of just does a little oomphy attack. But still, that being said, they have their own little characteristics. And of course, each one comes with its own gun. The Kubros, a lot more involved to get it, a lot more involved to keep it alive, and a lot more to regret if it dies in a mission. It's a trade up, and the nice part is they give you the free slots for one of each if you really want to, so you don't have to worry about trying this out and trying that out. You can try one of each if you want and kind of see which one it is. For the average player at the current point of the game, I would say that the carrier is going to be the far more useful thing you can get, because carrier will pick up all that stuff you might not have noticed before when you're in a close proximity, especially if you upgrade its vacuum ability all the way. And for a starting player, that's what you're going to end up wanting a lot of, is resources. And resources drop from dudes that are getting killed, and from crates that are getting blown up, and lockers that are getting opened. And it's a pain to have to run to right on top of these things. So the nice part about carrier is with that little suction, it grabs things, and you don't have to go as far out of your way to pick up all this stuff. That is, at the moment, all they really have with companions. The companions will only be in any of the ground-based missions. They will not follow you around in Archwing missions. They are customizable just as much as your Warframes are. The only real difference is how much of an upkeep you really want to deal with. The primary difference is, I should say. As usual, if you have any kinds of questions or anything you want me to clear up, let me know. I'll try to address it and get to it. If it's a big enough question, I'll try to make a video to explain it. The Kubros are cute. The Sentinels are handy. It's mostly a matter of figuring out which one works for you the best. Until next time, keep playing and dreaming them little doggy dreams.